On Friday morning, Harold Bennett was supposed to return the orange vest that had made him visible for 15 years. He folded it once, placed it in the grey plastic box beside the principal's office, then quietly took it back out before anyone saw. The vest was not special to anyone else. It had silver stripes across the chest, a loose thread near the left pocket, and Harold's name written on the inside tag in black marker. But when he slipped it over his shoulders, people looked at him with a kind of trust he had not known how to ask for in any other part of his life. Outside Maple Avenue Elementary, the city workers were tightening bolts on the new crossing signal. It stood at the corner like a thin metal replacement, blinking calmly. Already knowing its job, Harold watched the red hand flash, then the white walking figure appear. "Works smooth," one worker said. Harold nodded, as if that were good news. For 15 years, he had arrived at that corner at 7:05 every morning. He parked his old blue sedan behind the cafeteria, checked the weather, zipped the vest, and lifted his stop. Paddle just before the first. Family came round the bakery on the corner. He knew the little rituals of the neighborhood. He knew which first grader would stop halfway across the street to tie a shoe even when the bell was about to ring. He knew which mother carried coffee in one hand and a sleeping toddler in the other, and how her shoulders dropped when Harold stepped into the road. He knew Mason Reed, who started 2nd grade staring at the ground and finished 5th grade saying, "Morning." Mr. B, like the words had taken him 3 years to build. Those things had mattered to Harold. They had mattered more than he admitted. Before the vest, he had been a mail carrier for 32 years. Harold had spent his whole life delivering, fixing, carrying, opening, closing, showing up early, staying late. After he retired from the post office, the first month felt like standing in a room after everyone had gone home. No keys on his belt, no route bag over his shoulder, no one waiting at a window for the small proof that the day had begun. Then the school needed a crossing guard for 2 weeks. 2 weeks became 15 years. The vest gave Harold a place to stand. On Wednesday afternoon, Principal Avery found him by the front office and said, "Gently, Harold, we are still doing the thank you breakfast Friday." The children made cards. "That's nice," Harold said, "and Lena will be shadowing you tomorrow. The city wants her trained before summer program starts." Harold looked through the glass doors at the new signal. "Trained," he repeated. "You have given this school a lot," Principal Avery said. "No machine changes that." Harold smiled politely. That evening, his daughter Erin called while he was wiping dust from the stop paddle in his kitchen. "Dad, Zoe wants you at her classroom breakfast Friday," she said. "Not just the big assembly, her room. She saved you a chair." Harold glanced at the orange vest hanging over the back of a dining chair. "Friday is busy," he said. "Lots of traffic with parents coming in. Dad, Lena will be there. She doesn't know how people turn off Maple when they're late." Erin was quiet for a moment. He could hear dishes being moved in her sink. "I know you love helping," she said. "But Zoe isn't asking you to direct traffic. She wants you to sit next to her." Harold rubbed the faded name tag inside the vest. "I'll see what I can do." Erin gave a small, tired laugh. "That is what you say when you already mean no." The line went quiet again. Harold wanted to tell her that he meant well, that he had never missed work unless his fever made standing impossible. That dependability was the cleanest love he knew how to offer. Instead, he said. I'll try. On Thursday, Lena arrived at the corner wearing a new orange vest that still held its fold lines. She had a whistle, but she did not use it unless she needed it. Harold noticed that right away. You want the whistle ready? He said. Lena smiled. I have it. Ready means in your mouth before the cars roll. Her smile thinned but stayed kind. Got it. At 7:38, the first wave of children gathered by the curb. The new signal chirped. The white walking figure appeared. Lena stepped forward and lifted her palm. Harold stepped half a pace ahead of her. Wait for the blue minivan, he said. The minivan had already stopped. The children looked from Harold to Lena, then back to the signal. All right, Lena said gently. Crossing now. Harold felt heat rise under his collar. All morning, the corner obeyed Lena. The cars stopped. The children crossed. Nobody needed Harold to predict every small problem before it happened. By 8:10. Lena had learned the rhythm by 8:15. Harold felt like a man standing beside his own replacement. After school, Zoe ran toward him with a purple backpack bouncing against her shoulders. Grandpa, did Mum tell you about the breakfast? She mentioned it. I put your chair by the window. Harold looked down at her sneakers. One lace had come loose. Better tie that before you trip. Zoe bent down, tied it, then looked up at him. Are you only coming if you get to wear the vests? The question was not sharp. That made it worse. Harold opened his mouth, but nothing came out. Zoe shrugged in the honest way children do when they are not trying to wound you. Only understand you. Mum said sometimes you don't know what to do when nobody needs saving. Harold looked across the street. The new signal blinked red, then white, then red again. That night, he hung the vest on the bedroom door. He told himself he was deciding where to put it after Friday. But he knew the truth. He was afraid that if the vest came off, the world would pass him without slowing down. Friday morning arrived bright and warm. The children brought cards with crooked letters and drawings of Harold that made him look taller than he was. Principal Avery thanked him over the loudspeaker. A fifth grader handed him a paper crown that said best crossing guard ever in blue marker. Harold laughed. And for a little while, it was easy. Then the bell rang. The assembly ended. The children moved toward their classrooms. Lena took her place at the corner for the late arrivals. Harold stood near the front steps, holding the stop paddle inside, somewhere down the hall. Zoe was saving him a chair by the window. Outside, a minivan turned too quickly onto Maple. Harold moved before thinking. He stepped off the curb, raised the paddle, and called, "Hold up." The signal had already changed. Lena had already lifted her hand. The minivan stopped with plenty of room, but the children froze because Harold and Lena were telling them two different things. One boy stepped forward, then back. A parent reached for his sleeve. Lena turned and said, firmly but not unkindly, "Harold, I've got them." The words landed harder than any insult could have, not because she was wrong, because she was right. Harold looked at the children waiting on the curb. They were not safer because he could not let go. They were confused. He had mistaken his fear for care. Slowly, he lowered the paddle. Lena guided the children across, calmly, clearly. Well, when the last child reached the school side, Harold walked back to the sidewalk. His hands felt empty even though the paddle was still in them. He looked at Lena. "You watch the delivery truck after 8, he said. "Driver checks his phone at the light." Lena nodded. "I will." And The little boy with the green backpack likes to run when he sees his sister, I noticed. Harold swallowed. Then he held out the paddle. Lena took it with both hands. Thank you, she said. Harold unzipped the orange vest. The sound was small, almost nothing, but it felt like opening a door he had kept locked for years. Without the vest, the morning air touched his shirt. He felt strangely underdressed, strangely ordinary. Then he heard Zoe's voice from the school steps. Grandpa. She was waving with both hands. For 1 second, Harold almost looked behind him for someone useful she might be calling. Then he walked toward her in room 12. The chairs were too small and the coffee was weak. Zoe had saved him a seat by the window. Erin sat on the other side with tears she pretended were allergies. Harold did not pour juice. He did not fix the crooked paper banner. He did not carry extra chairs from the hallway. He sat. Zoe showed him a drawing of the crosswalk. In the picture, Harold was there, but he was not in the street. He was standing beside her under a yellow sun, wearing a blue shirt. She said, "That's you." Harold touched the edge of the paper. No vest. Zoe shook her head. "I know who you are." Something in Harold's chest loosened so quietly that no one else would have noticed after breakfast. He walked back to the office. The grey plastic return box was still beside Principal Avery's door. Harold folded the vest carefully, once across the chest, once from the bottom. Then he stopped. Instead of putting it in the box, he asked Principal Avery for a THUMBTACK. In the hallway near the front entrance, there was a small wooden hook where lost jackets usually waited. Harold hung the vest there with the inside tag turned outward so the name showed. Harold B. under it. Principal Avery placed one of the children's cards. "Thank you for helping us cross." Harold looked at the words for a long moment. Then he took a pen from the office counter and added one small line beneath them. "And thank you for letting me stop." That afternoon, when the final bell rang, Harold did not stand in the street. He stood beside Erin and Zoe on the school steps. Lena raised the paddle. The signal changed. The children crossed safely. Some waved at Harold. Some forgot to. The world kept moving, and for the first time in years, Harold did not take that as proof that he had disappeared. He reached for Zoe's hand, and she gave it to him easily, as if he had never needed a vest to belong there at all. Being useful can be a beautiful way to love people, but it becomes a lonely place to live when it is the only proof of your worth. Sometimes the hardest thing to take off is not a uniform. It is the belief that you must always be needed to be allowed to stay. If this story stayed with you, carry its lesson into your own life. And for more stories that help you see life differently, subscribe to Inner Shift.